Hi, Lloyd Johnson of Woodturner PRO, and we're really excited about showing you our new product called Segment Pro. We've been working on it for more than a year, and now that it's ready to go, we're ready to show it to you, and we hope that you enjoy what you see. We're going to do this today by building 4 different bowls. The first one is going to be an urn, and we're going to move very quickly through these because I really want to just show you the capabilities of the software, and you can watch the existing software tutorials to go into detail. We're going to start by going to the wall profiles. These are profiles in different categories that are built into the system. There's currently about 150 of them, and I continue to add new ones. So let's just go through all of the urns and pick one. Let's do this one right here. What we're going to do is we're going to be making a feature ring bowl. And so by telling it to do a feature ring, this is just a default feature ring bowl. Now there are some things we're going to want to change about this. So let's go into the storyboard to make changes. So the storyboard shows us there's a feature ring at the top, feature ring, the primary feature ring, and a feature group at the bottom. So what we're going to do is I don't want these 2 accent rows, so I'm going to take away the upper and the lower accent rows. I also want this to be a feature ring plus 2 accent rings instead of 4. So the other thing I'm going to do is the current setting for the feature ring is to be half of whatever the default is. So currently the default number of segments is 24, so that brings it down to 12. And so we're going to I'm going to change that so that it is the same as the default. So now there's 24 and 24. So now we're going to return to the bowl, because what I want to do is I want to drop this down from 24 down to 12 segments, and then I want to increase the row thickness up to 3/4 of an inch. So now we've got the bowl how we want it to be built. The current segment edge length of the feature ring segment is 2.122 inches, and I want that to be more at 2 inches. So I'm going to decrease the diameter of this bowl by using this button here where it says diameter. You can make it less or more by clicking the less button that moves the wall profile 1/8 of an inch closer to the center of the bowl. So, and I'm also targeting 200 cubic inches for this urn. So now I've dropped down below 200, and I'm going to compensate for that by adding 1/4 of an inch, and now I'm up to 203 cubic inches, so that's fine. Now the only thing that we have left to do then is I want to make this feature ring have a different profile. I also, in looking at this, this ring appears to me to be a bit low. It would work better if it was 1 ring higher. The center of the ring is automatically placed at the widest point of the bowl, so you can simply move this up and it's going to reposition that closer to the golden ratio, which is right here. So that's just fine. The other thing you can do though is if it were down here, you can also say move the feature ring 1/4 of an inch higher, and actually since the rows, I'm going to put it 1/2 an inch higher, and now that has also moved it up. So either of those will do the same thing. To build our feature ring, we're going to use our other product called Lamination Pro. And so we're going to start in the Laminate Wizard and make a new board, and I'll use 5 strips of wood and we'll make it a symmetric board. Strips 1 and 5 are going to be 3/4 of an inch of bloodwood. 2 and 4 are going to be 3/16 of an inch of blackwood, and the center strip is going to be 5/16 of maple. Before going any further, let's review just a little bit about Lamination Pro. What you're looking at here is the laminate board, and that is what is currently selected. It has 4 representative saw kerf lines, and this shows where you're going to be cutting this board. And currently it's at 30 degrees. You can change that just by changing the amount of the degrees. And so once you've decided that you want to cut this board at 30 degrees, you can cut all of the board into those strips and then reassemble them into a first generation board by flipping every other one. Now the first 2 of these strips gives you a V, which is also called a chevron. And so this board, a first generation board, is made up of a series of chevrons. One chevron is a repeating unit because that is the image that repeats across this board. It is 1 inch wide, and that is easy to understand because the strips that we cut from that board were 1/2 inch. Now you also will see that there is a red rectangle here, and that is the export region. And that is the most important thing that we need to be concerned about at this point. We need it to be what Segment Pro says, and that is to be 1.5 inches tall and 2 inches wide. Now it's easy for us to make it 1.5 inches tall because you just highlight the 5 inches and type in 1.5, and now our export region is 1.5 inches tall. What it needs to be is 2 inches wide, and so that means that our first cut width, instead of being 1/2 inch, needs to be 1 inch. Now we have both a 1.5 inch by 2 inches, so that export region is now correct. And if you were just going to be making a chevron, you could stop at this point and you could export this to Segment Pro and you'd be all ready. But since we want to make a diamond, what we need to do is to cut this board right through the center of the entire length, and then take the top half and slide it over the bottom half. And there's a button here that says that exact same thing. If you slide, it's going to do that motion, and so by clicking on that, we now have our diamonds, and they do fit within our export region. But I want to make a little bit of a change here. I think from an appearance wise, if we make a little steeper, so if I click on the right side of that marker, it's going to increase it by 5 degrees. So all that you need to do at this point now is click Export Image, and then browse to where we store the segments for Segment Pro, and that's in Documents, My Segment Pro, Species, and let's call this Diamond 2. And so now we'll go back to Segment Pro, and we're going to take a look at our palettes, and we're currently using my default palette. That's the top palette here. And these are the species that comprise of my default palette. When you click on the heading, it shows you what the names of those segments are. So this is where we want to use our new species. So if I double click on that, it's going to bring up our list of species. And if I go down to diamond, there's diamond 1 and there's diamond 2. So I'm going to click on that. And now the other thing we're going to do is I want the default row to be made out of walnut. So I'm going to double click on that, and we're going to go down to where we've got walnut. Let's go to this walnut. And now if we return to our bowl, there is the one change I'm going to make is I'm going to put the accent rings to maple. So go back to the storyboard, and where the species for the accent row is number 7, which is cherry, we're going to drop down to species number 3, which is maple. Return to the bowl, and now that's exactly the way we want to build this bowl. So now we can go to the summary, and this is what you would print out to go into the shop. It shows you the width, the length, and the segment edge length to build the segments, to build these rows with these diameters. Now I prefer to have the disk at the bottom, so you can just double click on the row column and it will change the order of the rows. So you can just print that out and go out to the shop and you can build this bowl. It's ready to go. And so that's how simple it is to design a simple urn. So this is the finished design, and that design could build an urn like the one you see here. Our next project is going to be a bowl designed by Bob Beaupre. This is going to be an open segment, 48 segment bowl, and so we'll open the profile, and then we're going to go into the paint screen to paint the segments. The first thing you're going to do is select the repeats per row and then the species you want to paint with. And now I have doubled the speed of the video so that we can get through this more quickly. So as you can see, all you do is you select the species and then you start clicking, and each time you click, it's going to paint 4 segments on that row. Now this project has been designed to be built using a Seg Easy plate, which can be now purchased in 48 segments. There are also smaller number of segment varieties available. So now you simply return to the bowl, and that has painted the bowl exactly as it is going to appear when you build it. Now that the design is complete, let's take a look at some ways you could modify this design to make other bowls. So first of all, you just click close to make it a closed segment. If you wanted to drop it down to 36 segments, that would make it easier bowl to build. You could drop it down to 24 segments, and it would make it easier yet to build. Now let's go back to our original 48 segments per row, and let's change a wall profile. It's going to keep the design, but allow us to go back to the profiles and find the profile we want to use. And that profile will be painted with the original design. However, we need to change the thickness of the rows to compensate for the height of the bowl, and then adjust the height of the bowl until the entire design appears. Now when you go to the summary printout, it's going to show you for each row how many segments of each different species you used. You also then can get a printout, which is a PDF file that is going to help you lay out the segments for each row. It creates a document with a single page for each row, and then it shows you where to position the segments for that row. So this is Bob Beaupre's original design, and this is the beautiful bowl he made from it. The next project is another painted segment design by Glenn McCarran, and this one is going to use a much different approach to do the painting of the segments. We're going to build the wall profile manually on this one just to show you how easy it is. You simply put dots on the page, and when you get to the bottom, it then knows enough to how to build your bowl. So there is the bowl that is created from that wall profile. So it's going to be 1/4 inch rings, and there's going to be 60 segments per row, and so we got a lot of segments to paint, so let's find a faster way to do it. So we're going to still pick the segments per row. This time it's 6. You pick the species, and now we're going to use the diamond stamp pad. So you click that and you tell it how many rows, how tall the diamond is to be, and then you select the species, and wherever you click, it's going to build the diamond around that center place. So then you just change the number of rows and the species and keep clicking. And by the way, in this project, I have not sped up the video at all. So this is how long it takes. And in fact, when we're done here, you're going to see that we painted 800 segments in a total of 30 seconds. Now we return to the bowl. There's our design, and it's got a couple of blank rows at the top, so just reduce the height of the bowl, and that's going to take care of those. So there is his finished design, and there's his finished bowl. The last project is simply a way to show off a bit by using one of master segmenter Tom Lohman's designs. In this design, he used 144 segments per row, which created a vessel that's got 6,300 segments in it. This is what his final paint screen looked like. Next, I'll show you another feature of Segment Pro that allows you to display your bowl in a 3D space. So for example, here we're going to put it on a lathe. lets you really get a perspective on how large a bowl is compared to some other object. Now we'll put it on a dining table. It becomes part of the 3D environment. So here's Tom's completed design, and here's the beautiful bowl he made from that design. Thanks for allowing me to introduce you to Segment Pro. I encourage you to come to the website where you can download a copy of the software. There you'll find more than a dozen video tutorials that cover every aspect of the software. You're going to see that we've only scratched the surface on what Segment Pro can do. So from Lloyd Johnson at Woodturner Pro, thanks so much for watching.